All right, we have breaking news now. World Health Organization has just declared coronavirus a pandemic at this point.
Thank you, Chase, RLH Corporation, and People's Bank. As I've always said, without the membership, AAHOA does not succeed. Our officers, our board, and our ambassadors are all volunteers. I would like to recognize our Mid-South regional ambassadors. They work tirelessly to support our AAHOA region. AJ Patel, CJ Patel, Darshana Patel, Dave Dharmendra Ramachandra, HK Patel, Hetal Bhakta, Jainish Patel, Nilang Patel, Pinal Patel, Silpa Patel, Tejas Patel. I would also at this time like to recognize our Mid-South Region 2019 Premier Ambassador, Pinal Patel. He went above and beyond in service to AAHOA and our nation's hoteliers, and we are grateful for the service. Pinal, thank you. And thank you to all the ambassadors for helping me make this region a success. Now let's take a moment to review our regional performance. As you can see, the Mid-South region has 823 paid members, 628 lifetime members. I urge you to encourage your networks to join or renew their AAHOA membership. Hoteliers are struggling right now, and today they need to rely on each other more than ever. If you have a friend or family member who is not yet an AAHOA member, help them out. Encourage them to become a member today and take advantage of the resources AAHOA provides. As a reminder, AAHOA membership is free for those who own a RLH Corporation or G6 franchise. Also, if you or your fellow hotelier is a Wyndham franchisee who has never been an AAHOA member, you too are eligible for a free membership. This year, our region has raised $5,559 for the AAHOA PAC. If you have not yet donated to our PAC, you can do so right now securely through AAHOA.com or here at our regional by visiting the information desk. Your support is greatly appreciated. Here are some of the names who have donated to the AAHOA PAC at a $365 or higher level. We are grateful for your support. AAHOA supports candidates who support small businesses, but more importantly, hoteliers. Here are the candidates that AAHOA PAC is supporting in our region. As you know, tomorrow is November the 3rd, Election Day. If you have not yet voted, please make a plan to vote tomorrow. As a citizen, this is one of the most important things you can do for our country right now. You need to make your voice heard. We work best when we are together. I am proud that we have accomplished, especially in the face of this pandemic. I am grateful for your support and your participation, especially all of you that have updated your property data through myahoa.com. When you update your property information, it helps us help you, such as when we are talking with brands, vendors, and elected officials. It helps us paint a more complete picture of your influence as job creators and leaders in business and in your community. We also need your email addresses and cell phone numbers, and be sure to opt in to receive the latest news, updates, and special deals. Please take a few moments today. Update your property information through myho.com and help us better advocate for you and to best communicate with you. We have several important events coming up, including additional regionals. Log into AAHOA.com every day to find out new events to attend, even virtually. We add new ones every day. Next, it is my privilege to moderate our panel today, who will be discussing 2020 State of the Lodging Industry and top issues in our region. Please join me in welcoming Mitch Patel, President and CEO of Vision Hospitality Group, Sam Patel, partner at Kisna Hospitality, and Hank Phillips, President and CEO of the Kentucky Travel Industry Association. Gentlemen, thank you again for being here with us today. So we'll begin by some self-introductions. Hank, we'll start off with you.
Hi, everyone, and my appreciation to AAHOA for the invitation to be with you today. My name is Hank Phillips. I'm the president and CEO of the Kentucky Travel Industry Association, as the slide shows you. We are the association that represents the full spectrum of Kentucky's travel and tourism industry, including and especially our hotel industry. I'll hold off on any further in-depth comments, just other than to say that we are going through so much as an organization here, what our hotel partners are going through. So that's not to gain your sympathy, it's to let you know that you have our empathy and our deep understanding of the pain and the crisis that you're experiencing. And we are working 24/7 here on behalf of all of our hotel members to get us all through this. I'll join in the conversation further as we get deeper into it. But thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, Hank. Thank you. Mitch?
Thank you, Sunil. My name is Mitch Patel. I'm President and CEO of Vision Hospitality Group based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We have 39 hotels affiliated with Marriott and Hilton primarily, a few IHG products as well in 7 states. And so we are very similar to many of the members of AAHOA, just started with humble beginnings to where we are today. And this is quite a challenge we're all facing. Look forward to the discussion, learning, always learning from each other. So I'm proud to be a AAHOA member.
Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate it. Sam?
Thanks, Sunil. I'm Sam Patel. I'm with Kisna Hospitality. We're based in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm also the chairman for the Choice Hotels Owners Council. I just really look forward to our discussion today, and thank you, AAHOA, for having me.
Wonderful, gentlemen. So we're just gonna dig right into this. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was many of us, or many leaders, should I say, that were talking about changing the landscape of the hospitality industry. Basically, you're not letting this pandemic go to waste and see what we could do to come out ahead. So my question is basically for all 3 of you, that in your thoughts and basically with the brands that you guys are affiliated with, how will the industry change from COVID-19? And related to what elements of the hotel experience do you think can change to the benefit of the owner with little impact to the guest? Mitch, I'll get started with you.
Sure, Sunil. I have to backtrack a little bit. I think we all know that our margins were diminishing. Even the RevPAR was growing over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Our margins were diminishing. And so there were some structural challenges to our business model. amenity creep, labor challenges, and so forth. So no one hoped or wished for this crisis that we're going through, but unfortunately we're in it, and now we got to look at it as an opportunity, and as you mentioned. And so what are those opportunities? And I think there's a few of them. We're already seeing some of them right now, but we would like to make them more permanent. Breakfast and the food and beverage offerings, complimentary social should just go away. There's no need for that anymore. Breakfast, a simplified breakfast or removal of complimentary breakfast period is something I know that many members are advocating for. I think a game changer in our industry would be the housekeeping, going to a permanent opt-in housekeeping model. So permanently opting in for stay-over cleaning, and then potentially leading to fees for housekeeping, much like what the airline industry did with baggage fees. So I think there's some opportunities. This is the time to do it. We can't do it. We can't implement these initiatives 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months from now. And I want to make this very clear. This is industry initiatives that we are lobbying for, industry-wide, not specifically any brand or so forth. And I think that there's some opportunities to make it a better business model for us hotel owners.
Appreciate that, Mitch. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, like Mitch, I think, I look at every crisis, and there's always a silver lining in any crisis that you're in. And, really for our industry, this really pushes technology to the forefront, whether it's touchless check-in and check-out, keyless locks, things that when it's all said and done will be labor savings, whether it be housekeeping on demand, limited breakfast options. Labor is one of our biggest expenses. And I think, this pandemic really opens up an opportunity to, address labor. And also, it really accelerates the timelines for, many of these changes to happen. As Mitch, stated that, I think we've seen amenity creep and really our expenses just creep over the last 10 years. And really this pandemic is allowing our industry to kind of reel back in all those costs, and also just, have opportunity to have other profit centers within our hotel rather than just our traditional room revenue.
Okay, so Hank, let me kind of twist that question for you just a little bit. So as far as your membership is concerned, what are you hearing, or are you hearing something similar to what Sam and Mitch just got through saying? What are your thoughts? Hank, I believe you're on mute.
You got me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that. When I hear a question like that, I think of the saying that never waste a serious crisis. I think Churchill first said that, and we're hearing a lot of that kind of thinking as just expressed, and also throughout the industry. One thing that occurs to me is that I think for the foreseeable future, at least from the consumer standpoint, that folks aren't going to just be looking for good service and great experiences, but they're going to need to have confidence in terms of the health and safety of their travels, not unlike after 9/11. And we have been so impressed, and especially coming from the brands, we have a governor here who has been pretty intense with guidances, but the brand requirements and the brand expectations from a clean and sanitizing standpoint have actually exceeded those of our governor. And I think that says something very important now and going forward with the hotel industry. And I think that will need to be sustained into the foreseeable future to give visitors that confidence that they're going to be wanting to have, and your guests' confidence. Something else we've seen that we hope continues into the future is a lot more interaction, a lot more collaboration between various industry sectors. Hotels and their destination marketing organizations, I don't think have ever communicated and interacted as much as they have during this crisis. Though that whole relationship, that whole cohesiveness of the industry is something that we hope continues. And I'll mention one more thing, and it's something we've been messaging, especially to our legislators, and that is we point out to them to look at the shape the industry is in right now, and then we remind them of how things were booming just a year ago. And so we have used this at least as an opportunity to say how important the travel industry, how vitally important hotels are to the overall economy. And we feel like we're gaining some traction with policymakers having a new and much better understanding of the importance of the work that our hotels and the rest of the industry does. So we hope all of that continues going forward.
Appreciate that, Hank. So, when we all get into business, regardless of what the business is, we start building relationships, right? So this question is in regard to relationships, and we build relationships, and then hopefully, as the years go by, we sometimes have to rely on those relationships. So we'll start off with you, Sam. So how important are your relationships today with lenders, employees, brands, lawmakers, and are any of these relationships helping you?
Yeah, I mean, in this environment, relationships really will be key to survival. Relationships with your elected leaders and really sharing your stories and hardships with them, and letting them know what small business owners are going through, and really what type of relief measures are needed. We've already seen some small business relief packages with PPP and EIDL, but even on the state level, we've seen release of several different grants tailored for small business. And if you haven't taken opportunity of or taken advantage of those opportunities, I would really, make sure that you take advantage of those, because there's a lot of different opportunities available for small business. But relationships and communication with our brands are just as important. This pandemic really has opened up an opportunity to make some significant changes. And I think while in the short term, we've seen many of our brands offer some sort of franchisee relief, whether it be deferments or reduced fees. I think the key discussions to be had should be more strategic and really focusing not just on the short term, but more importantly on the long term, and how we can make changes that really will help reduce our expenses once we're outside this pandemic, so that we're really all more profitable.
Oh, Sam, I think you got muted out, or Tiffany? Sam, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's key to really have the discussions about long-term changes, because really that's going to be the key to profitability once we get out of this pandemic. And I think those, having those relationships and having those discussions now will be key to that.
Appreciate it. So Hank, as far as you dealing with the lawmakers day in and day out, and we obviously we have PAC funds that we raise PAC money for to build these relationships. Are you seeing any success in times like this for whatever our asks have been?
Well, in the case of Kentucky, and those in the audience who are from Kentucky will understand this, our legislative sessions occur each January. So in January of this year, that was basically pre-crisis. We were just beginning at the very, very beginnings to see that, but not to the extent that it affected what we were asking legislators for. And the next session won't be until this coming January 21. So as far as direct asks over the course of the crisis, the legislature hasn't been in session for that to occur. But we, as I said a few minutes ago, we are seeing a new recognition from state legislators here in Kentucky about the industry. They certainly are very, very aware, and we have continually been impressing upon them the crisis nature of the situation. So even though all sorts of industries come January are going to be making asks of one type or another, we think we are well positioned, not necessarily in funding, but in policy and also holding on to tourism funds that already exist. We think we're very well positioned going into this next session in January. I'll add, though, that besides the legislative branch is certainly for us in Kentucky, the actions of the governor have been very significant, obviously, in terms of business closing and then reopening and the protocols under which that is occurring. And we had the governor speaking to our membership just last week, and he too understands and demonstrated an understanding of the pain that the industry is going through. I was pleased that he held himself accountable with some of the decisions he feels he had to make. He said, I know that my decisions have made things difficult for the travel industry. And he said, and he expressed his respect and his appreciation for the industry and the sacrifices that have occurred. So that's talk at this point, but going forward, I think that his awareness of the industry and the industry's pain and us having communicated that to him is going to hold us in good stead going forward as we need to move toward recovery and help from the governor in doing that.
Thank you, Hank. Mitch, you and I have spoken about relationships on many different occasions. Can you just elaborate on the importance and how it's helped you right now?
Sure. I'll talk a little bit about the lawmakers. Obviously, leadership matters, and you could see what's happening in the Northeast and out in California, where they're just shutting things down completely and not really having a good comprehension of how the economy works here. And in Nashville, we were very upset with the local. The mayor there and the city council decided to increase property taxes instead of doing the difficult things that we've all had to do, and that is furlough employees and cut expenses and so forth. But I'm thankful for our governor. It could be controversial, I'm sure, but I'm thankful for Governor Lee that understands that tourism is the second largest industry in the state of Tennessee. It's the largest industry in our county here in Chattanooga. And we employ, obviously, tens of thousands of employees throughout the state. And we were classified as essential business. And I'm so thankful that we were, because in those darkest hours, we had tornadoes that hit Hamilton County and over in Nashville. And where were these responders and the people that are cutting trees and power line folks? Where were they going to stay? And so we were able to get some of that business, and of course the essential travel that was taking place. And I want to keep on reiterating, this isn't about wealth creation. Of course, that's so important. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we're in this business. And I know my audience here is fellow hotel owners, but it's about our employees, and that's the message that we need to continue to send to lawmakers. That this is about jobs, it's about livelihoods. We had 1,600 employees at the beginning of March, and we had to furlough over 1,100 associates within weeks. And it was something that we didn't want to do. It was something we had to do for survival. And I'm so glad that we're bringing people back. But that's the message we need to continue to state. And we didn't touch on a couple of other relationships. Lawmakers, obviously, but lenders. I'm so thankful that we have a relationship with our lenders and relationship with our employees and vendors, other vendors, not just the franchisors, right? That those relationships in the darkest of hours matters the most. And, even in any type of partnership, right? Any type of partnership, when everything is rosy and things are great, you know, it's hard to argue how strong that partnership is. But when that partnership is strained, that's when the true measure of that partnership is measured, and we're seeing that today with all those relationships.
I'd like to jump in and just say amen and echo what you just said on 2 points. Vendors, we're seeing people, companies that never have considered themselves to be a part of the travel industry, now understanding that vendor relationship, that vendor partnership, when their customers are on the ropes, they're on the ropes. And we've talked about relationships. That is a hugely critical relationship, and one that I think has had an awakening of appreciation on both sides of the fence, the hotel as customer and the vendor in that regard. Well, I'll just leave it at that. I wanted to echo that point about vendors.
Well, I mean, great points there. And I just want to kind of piggyback off of what Mitch said about the employees. You know, in good times, it's tough to retain top talent. You know, so Sam, let me ask you, what are you doing to keep your employees motivated, you know, and keeping them engaged?
Yeah, I mean, really for us, it's about communication and really letting, you know, our employees know that we're there for them. You know, many of them are worried about their own health, worrying if they're going to maintain their jobs, worrying about their home expenses and, you know, having to homeschool their kids possibly. You know, we've always, as a company, always treated our employees like family. And I think that's key. It's, you know, once your employees know that you have their back, even in troubled times, you'll see a huge burden lifted off their backs. And you'll see that reflected in their performance. You know, we've seen it with their labor, the labor pool and also, you know, labor cost. So it's really extremely important to maintain that top talent that you currently have and really doing what you can to keep them happy and truly engaged. So I think it's just, you know, communication is key and just really letting them know that you're going to be there for them.
So Mitch, you know, you shared a story with me about what your company did. I believe it was during Easter for your employees, even though, you know, the budgets were trimmed, the margins were trimmed, but y'all, you know, you guys went out of your way. And can you share that story with us?
Yeah, look, I'm going to echo a little bit what Sam said. It's about culture. You know, we feel like, you know, we have a strong culture in our organization that started many, many years ago. And it's not something we take for granted. We got to work on it every single day. But this is a people business first and foremost before a real estate business. And those that are going to be successful in this business are the ones that know that it's a people business first. It's a service business first. So to specifically answer your question, yeah. So when, you know, no one had a roadmap of to how to navigate this crisis, right? So when March hit, we had to do the unfortunate furloughing of our associates. It was temporary. You know, we kept on communicating that this is temporary, and some of it became permanent, unfortunately. But when April hit, it was Easter, and we thought, you know what? We talk about, as Sam mentioned, we talk about our associates being family. Then this is the time to step up and act like your family. So all, not just existing associates, even the furloughed associates, we were communicating every week with them. And then we gave out over 1,100 to our furloughed associates, 1,100 care packages. And probably spent about $50,000 in the most difficult time of our company to let our hardworking, loyal associates know that we're here for you. Hang in there. We're going to bring you back as occupancy picks up, and that we've not forgotten about you. You care, and so forth. And it was something that we did, and that was just one of many things that we did, and we're continuing to do for our team.
Thank you, Mitch. And I remember that you telling me that, and I just wanted you to share it. Maybe some of the audience have already heard it before, but that goes a long, long way because, you know, during these times we're trying to penny pinch everything, but that was something very nice that y'all did. So Hank, I want to ask you a question about at the state or possibly the local level, you know, what do you feel like moving forward, some of the challenges from a regulatory standpoint, whether it may be the health department or moving forward? What do you feel like is going to be a challenge, like for example, in January, when legislation opens back up, legislators?
Well, some of the things we're looking at right now is if there is anything that can be done in regard to property taxes, as far as delays or reductions. To be honest, we're not very optimistic about that because of where, at least in Kentucky, the primary recipient of property tax revenues are the school systems. So the legislators are not going to be too interested in doing, financial harm, further harm to the school systems. But that's one thing we're definitely looking at. We're concerned about, and this has been at the national level and also at the as a state issue as well. Frivolous lawsuits directed toward businesses by people who claim to have contracted the virus at that location. That whole area of liability protection is something we've pushed hard on at the national level with Congress, with Senator McConnell. He has been very, very strong on that issue. We will also be pushing that at the state level come January. Another area, and I won't go too far with this, although we are trying to model this after Tennessee. Tennessee enacted legislation to make sure that the short-term rental companies, the Airbnbs, VRBOs, et cetera, that they're paying their local taxes as they're supposed to support tourism. Tennessee put into place some a law that provides for that to occur through a centralized process that had not existed previously. And so we are sharing that with legislators up here, and we hope to make progress on that. A lot of our hoteliers, even in this crisis, they tell us that their main ask from a regulatory standpoint is just leave us alone. Don't impose burdens on us. And so, especially during this crisis, we're going to be really vigilant to make sure there's nothing that gets proposed that will make life even harder than it is already in the midst of the crisis. So that sort of monitoring and that vigilance is going to be a part of what we're about. At the local level, just real fast, I'll mention this. One of the difficulties is not so much the mandates and requirements, but the varying interpretation that can occur from one county to another by the local health departments. And we're seeing some of that happening, not so much in the hotel sector, at least from what we've heard, but from attractions and some others in the industry. So we want to be careful what we ask for. We don't want things to be so black and white and so rigid that it overall net effect is to hurt and to constrain. But at the same time, there has to be some degree of certainty and predictability. And when it comes to local health department interpretations of guidances, that can suffer. And so we're paying a lot of attention to that and conveying back up the food chain, back up to the governor's office when we see inconsistencies to an extent that it's undermining the ability of hotels to function properly, because proper is not that carefully or consistently defined. One other thing really, really fast. In all of this, and this is what I wanted to come back to a moment ago, if you're talking to your legislator, if you're talking to your county officials or your city officials, what Mitch said, I think it was Mitch, it was Mitch who emphasized jobs, jobs, jobs. the human side for sure, but also the economic impact side. You all are huge employers, and policymakers and legislators are very responsive to arguments that hinge on maintaining jobs. And so just bear that point in mind as you go about your advocacy work.
Appreciate that. So, gentlemen, we have about 60 days left in the year approximately, and to some of us that may be 60 months, depending on how things go. So, let's just say, Mitch, what is your biggest worry for the remainder of the year, and what hope do you have for 2021?
Sure. So, when this crisis started in March, we were forecasting, 20% occupancy and building it back up, hopefully at a stronger pace, and getting back to, we knew it was going to take years to get back to 19 levels, but we didn't anticipate that cases were going to, surge in summer and July and then surge again now. And so it's been very, very difficult kind of forecasting what we think is going to happen. The booking window is shortened considerably. Cancellations, as you know, are very, very, normal. Significant cancellations, even if it's booked 2 weeks ago, you can see cancellations take place now. But this is what I'm worried about, Sunil, to answer your question more specifically. We're thankful for the PPP funding. That, as Hank said, it's about jobs, it's about livelihoods. That's why PPP funding was initiated in record pace. Even though our industry was hit the hardest, hotels and restaurants, we only received 9% of the initial round of the PPP funds. So PPP has run out on many businesses, right? Deferrals with debt. The first 3 months was a layup. The next 3 months was a free throw, and now it's becoming a three-pointer. So you're seeing challenges with debt relief. Winter months, as you know, that most hotels barely break even or lose money in the winter months, in good years. And so that's coming now with November, December, and onward in January. So you have all these challenges. As Hank mentioned, property taxes. I was praying that we would have some relief there, but it looks highly unlikely. And that's due in the fourth quarter and first quarter, depending on where you are at, municipalities. And that's significant property taxes that are going to be due. So this is about survival. This is about liquidity. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of businesses are gonna struggle because of that. And there's only a finite amount of liquidity that people have. This is their entire net worths that they put their cash, personal cash. They have guarantees with banks, and this is their livelihood. And I think March, April of next year is going to be a critical period for our industry. And this is going to be a 3-year to 4-year, to get back to where we were before. But I don't want to sugarcoat that. But March, April, I think we'll know a lot as spring break traffic and summer season starts picking up again and so forth. But I think it's going to be a big challenge for the next 3 to 4 months.
Appreciate it. Sam, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, really for me, uncertainty and liquidity are my two biggest worries. And, talking about liquidity, I know many of us took advantage of, forbearance or do interest-only payments during the summer. And unfortunately, without regulatory change, getting that additional relief is not going to happen. Currently with the FDIC, more than 6 months of deferral or interest-only payments will result in a loan being downgraded and classifying it as a troubled debt restructure. And so, without any kind of regulatory change, banks are, kind of have their hands tied. And so as Mitch said, these winter months are going to be extremely difficult for many of us. That being said, I'm still optimistic. Our industry has gone through many ups and downs, and we've always come back as an industry. Travel will come back, and while it may not be immediate, there's going to be pent up demand, and people want to go on vacations. They want to, have business meetings. People want to shake hands and get together. 2020 has been, a year that we all want to forget. I mean, we've gone through, you name it, we've gone through it this year. But the great thing is we've seen our industry really unite. Even though we've gone through, hell and high water, we've united as an industry, and, and we've all stayed positive. And really that brings me hope for 2021. And I think, while it may take time, I think we're going to come out of this stronger than ever, because we're truly seeing unity within our industry.
Good stuff. So Hank, from a regulatory standpoint, I think Mitch used the basketball analogy of the first round of from the banks in the second round, and then coming to the third round where it's a three-pointer. Why have the regulators not given the banks the ease of dealing with their not their employees, but their customers? Because it seemed like the first time and the second time around they had some ease, but now they're just feeling like Sam said, they're talking about that will be a downgrade where they'd have to put more money in reserve. Have you seen or heard anything of that nature as far as any kind of I don't know about regulation, but just some type of an ease from the FDIC for the banks?
Everybody started out playing nice, and now everybody seems to have gone to their separate corners and hunkered down, focused on their own self-interest. So I'm gonna answer that question, but I'll also broaden it out into overall stimulus and relief, of which forbearance and cooperation needs to be a part. And I'll also capture the looking forward optimistic side of things. I'm not sure whether to call it optimistic or hopeful. I'm going to go with optimistic, that when we get on the other side of the elections, where elections and all of those considerations that ought not to be considerations but are in a practical reality sense, let's get on the other side of the elections. Let's set the politics aside, and I think that Congress will get their act together and will pass some form of stimulus, PPP, and other elements that the industry has been pushing for, which includes what you asked about, Sunil, forbearance. God love Congressman Andy Barr up here. He has been pushing for a special tool instrument that can be established by Treasury that will allow for and provide for what you were talking about, in the liquidity that folks, or the forbearance that folks need to make it through this tough winter that lies ahead. So I cannot get inside the heads of politicians very well. I can't get inside the head of the U.S. Treasury. But I do think that there's a combination of factors that politics will recede enough, and the need with the surge of cases is growing enough. I think there is going to be some form of stimulus, including forbearance, within the next couple of months. And it needs to happen fast. It should have happened 2 months ago, not 2 months down the road. But I do believe that there will be some form of relief, including financing. And I'll pick up on what Sam said too, and that is that there is pent-up demand, absolutely. And people in their heart of hearts want to get out and want to travel. The key will be if we can get policymakers to help build a bridge from where we are today to that pent-up demand, getting comfortable and confident about getting out and traveling. And that's what we are working so hard on is to build that bridge through stimulus and other forms of relief and assistance.
Appreciate it, Hank. So for Sam and Mitch, when dealing with banks and talking with banks, there's budgets and forecasting and all these things that they're asking for, which in a normal time, it's readily achievable. So how could you even possibly forecast and budget for, let's just say, 2021? Sam?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think it's a first in our industry where it's really difficult to forecast for the short term. I think the long term, it's a little bit easier, knowing that there's going to be a vaccine at least within the next no later than 6 months at the very very latest. Knowing that there's going to be a vaccine will definitely help forecast for 2021 for the winter months. Just because of our short booking window, it's extremely difficult to forecast what's going to happen. Within the next 4 or 5 months. There is one guarantee that's it's going to be extremely slow. But for 2021, as far as forecasting goes, we can't really rely on historic data anymore, just because of every forecast modeling has kind of been thrown out the window right now. But you can take portions off your occupancy and off your ADR, because we know that RevPAR is going to take a dip for 2021. It's going to increase from 2020, but I think it's for our company, it's extremely difficult to really have accurate forecasting for 2021. We can have a range, and I think our lenders kind of understand that, just because of the operating environment that we're in right now. It's you've heard the word unprecedented thrown so many different times on every single webinar you're probably on, or any kind of meeting that you've seen. But I think lenders understand that this is unprecedented times, and really to have accurate forecasting is going to be extremely difficult.
Mitch, are you guys doing anything different when it comes to these items?
No, I don't think there's a clear-cut answer on forecasting. I talked to a lot of other hotel owner-operators, and Sam, you summed it up well. I mean, no one knows exactly what's going to take place. We could only do our best job in guessing. But the industry pundits, CBRE and Star, have all forecasted immediately that we would have about a 50% drop in RevPAR for 2020. Over 19, and it's playing itself out around that. Now our portfolio is not at that level. We're doing a little better than that. And then 21, you're going to see an increase, obviously due to the things that Sam mentioned, build, as Hank mentioned, more consumer confidence and a vaccine and so forth, things that were canceled in 2020 that was going to get rescheduled and rebooked. We're not talking about annual events. We're talking about weddings and things like that are going to take place hopefully in 21 and beyond. So you're going to see this pent-up demand that is going to take place. So if 100 was kind of the index, let's just say for 2019, let's just say that's 100 index, 50 is the index. We've reached a 50 index for 2020, and then 70 to 75 probably index in 21, and then probably 85 to 90 index in 22, and then probably get closer to our 19 numbers in 23. And I advise my fellow owners that it's going to be a long journey. I agree with you, Sam and Hank, that no virus, no terrorist is going to break the American spirit. This country was founded on exploration, and I'm so glad that people are exploring and re-exploring our country, and the domestic travel, the drive-to travel, the interstate travel, you're seeing it slowly pick up. People that were flying normally are now starting to drive, and hopefully that'll help a lot of our AAHOA hotel owners. And I think that, look at what's happening at the national parks. I mean, I have friends that have hotels in Gatlinburg. Many of them are up this year. over last year, which is amazing. Beach markets are up from last year, many of these markets. So I think that there is a lot of pent-up demand. It's going to be primarily leisure. So those hotels that are more dependent on leisure, you know, we're going to have a little higher forecast for them. Those that are city center urban hotels, and we have many of those too, that rely on conventions, concerts, and things like that, it's going to be a slow go for them. So it's going to be hotel by hotel, market by market. But by no means are we going to come back to 19 levels next year in general. Now, some markets might. So, but we're taking it day by day, month by month, and we might be reforecasting just like we did in 2020 and 21, and let our management team know that, hey, typically when we lock in a budget, it's locked in for the rest of the year. Now, we'll reforecast and things like that, but we may have to be very fluid for 21 and incentivize our managers differently, because as Sam said, these are unprecedented times.
Well, gentlemen, on behalf of AAHOA and the Mid-South region, I want to thank each and every one of you for being on this Zoom call meeting today. But before we say goodbye and move forward, I just want to some closing remarks, and Hank, we'll start with you.
Well, I've covered a lot of the ground I wanted to, and again, appreciate the opportunity. I will tell you one thing, and I will solicit ideas and input into this. We are at KTIA, we've initiated a process that recognizes that even though the crisis continues, it's not too early to be thinking about recovery. That process is a planning process called RAFT, Recovery Actions for Tourism. And we are reaching out to all members throughout the industry, everyone, to give us your ideas and your recommendations, large and small, short and long term, on what it will be that will help you incrementally or in large chunks to recover over that long term that Mitch was talking about. So if everyone who's listening to this, if you have ideas and recommendations, the Recovery Actions for Tourism plan, please let me know. The door and the minds are wide open to your ideas and suggestions. And again, thank you all very much for having me with you today.
Thank you, Hank. Sam?
Yeah, no, I just want to, say that, I first I want to say thank you to AAHOA for having us on. I just want to, say how proud I am of our industry. It's, I think, our industry has shown that we are an essential business. We're part of the DNA of our country, and people need hotels. We donated rooms to first responders. We had immediate action as soon as the pandemic began by donating rooms to first responders, by adopting, safe measures to keep our employees and our guests safe. I think unity and, and camaraderie just between our fellow business owners really showed showed how our industry has such a net positive on our country. And so I'm just extremely proud of our industry, and just want to say thank you to AAHOA and everything that AAHOA does for our industry as well.
Thank you, Sam. Mitch?
Yes, thank you as well for having me on. It was nice getting to know Hank a little bit, and Sam's my cousin that I rarely see, and I get to see him on Zoom after so long. So a couple of things I want to mention is, engage with your DMOs. I think you understand how important they are more than ever. Engage with, as Sam said, AAHOA and HLA and various, even if it's local or state organizations. I think you see the power of these organizations more than ever, the need of these organizations more than ever. So if you're thinking about, should I be a member? Should I not be a member? I think you know the answer. Support them, be a member, get engaged. So important more than ever. Secondly, it's liquidity. I want to mention that so critical, liquidity to our businesses. So the Main Street lending program needs to be either revamp, change or so forth, because it's not applicable to our hotel real estate business, or some sort of other facilitator that's out there that could help with liquidity. A second round of PPP would be huge. Obviously, anything with liquidity is going to be so helpful. And then, as my fellow panelists say, stay confident. It's like what friends told me about this. It's a very, very long tunnel, but they see the light at the end of it. So there is light. It's just a long tunnel, and it's going to take some time. And I think it's going to get better and better every month. And after this winter months, of course, I think it's going to continue to get better. So hold on and continue to do what you're doing to get to where you are today. And because you want to obviously keep your hotels, keep your livelihood, and so forth. But we're here to help in any way.
Thank you again, gentlemen. And I must say, I'm very proud that in the Mid-South region alone, we have such great leaders that always step up to the plate to share their insights. Once again, thank you, gentlemen. And for everybody on the call, please make your way to the main auditorium for the AAHOA updates. Thank you.